Thank you very much, Piero. We have now arrived to the last presentation of the afternoon. Ottorino Passariello is our General Manager of Operations. He comes from being the Director of Operation of one of the major multinational companies in Italy. Still, he hasn't done an Expo, so that is challenging, but he has also a lot of professionality to take to the job. He will run you through the operations. Now that we go forward towards the Expo, the operation side becomes more and more important, and Ottorino rules us all. So we will hear the presentation of Ottorino.
Good afternoon to everybody. My one is the last welcome for today to all the participants. In the next 20 minutes or less, I'll give you an update on what my team and me are preparing to be ready for the opening of Expo Milano 2015. In this presentation, I'm going to cover 6 areas. I think there is some problem with the presentation. Huh? Sorry, just a moment. È bianco il fondo, non si legge nulla. In questo modo non si legge nulla, devono farla ripartire.
Torniamo indietro, torniamo indietro, torniamo indietro.
It's normal happening to operations, don't worry. No, non è che non la vedo, il fondo è bianco anziché scuro e quindi non si legge nulla. Sorry, they are downloading again. Just some minutes. I'll try to be faster in the presentation. Provo? No. L'hanno tolta proprio. Okay, I'll try to do in this way. We start talking about cluster field operations, then the other topics will be logistics, customs control, waste management, the participant service center, and the daily schedule. Let's start with the field operation teams dedicated to the clusters. This is the summary we saw. No, scusate, è impossibile in questo modo, Stefano. Sorry, but. Non riesco. Okay. This is the summary we saw together during the IPM 2013. You know that we'll divide the exhibition site into sectors and units, 84 sectors and around 200 units, and each participant will have a single point of contact to take care of his requests until they had been resolved. I asked each of you to appoint a chief operations officer to be the reference point between your team and me and my teams on the ground to ensure the proper functioning of the operations system. How can we implement this concept referring to the 9 clusters? Each cluster will have a different operating configuration related to its specific food chain. Within each cluster, we identified 8 main blocks to be managed according to their specific operational needs. These areas are the ones related to pavilions, events, market, exhibitions, restaurants, common areas, waste, and finally, logistics. Now, let's take an example, the rice cluster. How can we compose the field operations team for this sector? We have 2 managers responsible for the clusters, and in most cases, 2 managers per area. In addition to these people, during the events, specialized staff will be available in the cluster, and in year 2, we have dedicated 2 people per area. This means that for the rice cluster, we'll have 22 people fully dedicated to the cluster operations. This cluster team will manage all the activities on the ground and will respond to all needs arising from the participants. The same for the other cluster. For a total of 168 people, I think it's an impressive number, this. Let me say again, 168 people who will work exclusively for you all day long. This is what we mean when we talk in Turin about a global approach and a local touch. They have the same selection process, the same training process, the same management process, but different dedicated teams for each cluster, acting independently, according to your needs and under the coordination of the Expo Command and Control Center. I asked you again, please, to appoint a Chief Operations Officer to act as a liaison between your team and me and my teams on the ground. This Chief Operations Officer will attend the same training we are designing for our field operation teams to ensure full operational coordination. So let's just recap. We have identified a maximum of 8 main areas within the clusters that need to be run operationally. We have defined the composition of each team that will be in charge of the different clusters. The teams reporting to the Expo Command and Control Center and coordinated by the cluster managers will cover all the operational needs related to the 8 main areas we identified within the clusters. An impressive number of people will be dedicated to the 9 clusters on a daily basis, 168. And lastly, please don't forget to appoint your Chief Operations Officer. So much for the field operation teams for cluster. Now let's move on to logistics. Let me remind you of what we said about non-food logistics last October. At that time, we were going to issue a request for proposal based on the following key operational drivers: security and safety, on-site efficiency, simplified customs clearance operations. We also stressed that the controls criteria will match the standard of airport security checks to ensure operational effectiveness within the exhibition site. Will appoint one single official logistic provider for the last mile operations. The same provider to be appointed as recommended for the fitting and dismantling period. Now, I'm pleased to announce that the official non-food logistic provider is DB Schenker. DB Schenker is the transportation and logistics activities of Deutsche Bahn. The logistics sector of Deutsche Bahn is the world's second largest transportation and logistics services provider, but most importantly is a global provider present in 130 countries with around 2,000 locations across the world's most important economic regions. In the logistics non-food guide, which will be issued in the coming weeks, you'll get all the detailed information you need related to official logistics provider services for the last mile operations, recommended logistics provider optional services for the fitting and dismantling period, sanitary and phytosanitary controls which will be carried out on imported goods and plants, Italian and European regulation that will be subject to imported goods, and finally the customs facilities reserved for the participants. Now let's go back to talk about operations processes. For security reasons and for the purpose of ensuring operational efficiency, DB Schenker will manage all the last mile operations during the event period. By last mile operations, I mean activities such as proximity warehousing and security checks, exhibition and merchandising materials, special goods such as plants, high-value or fragile items and oversized items, and the on-set delivery and pickups of all goods. During the semester, transportation from your countries to the proximity warehouse is not part of the exclusive rights, but we suggest that you use our recommended provider. Now, some detailed information on the scheduled hours for the delivery goods. The scheduled times will be Monday, Tuesday from midnight to 5 a.m., from Wednesday to Sunday from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. The orders received before 6 p.m. will be delivered the same night. The orders received after 6 p.m. will be delivered the next night. Security and safety controls criteria will follow the standard of the airport security checks. To recap, we appointed DB Schenker as official logistics provider exclusively for the management of last mile logistics operations during the event period. DB Schenker will act as recommended logistics provider for the preparation and dismantling phase, offering integrated services on a non-exclusive basis. This means that before and after the event, you will therefore be able to choose your provider. Let's move now to talk about food logistics. In the food and beverage guide that will be issued in the coming weeks, you'll find the operational guidelines for the complete management of the food logistics. The food logistics model is based on the following two concepts. The organizer will not select an exclusive food logistics provider. The logistics activities will be carried out by the participants' food providers or by a participant's food logistics provider. As a consequence, Each participant is solely responsible for all decisions related to the food and beverage supply chain, and each participant must ensure the proper functioning of all phases of his own process: purchase, reorder, transport, stock management, and distribution to the point of catering. Daily access to the site should be authorized by the organizer and booked through the master delivery schedule. We identified the 3 different categories of food and beverage suppliers: official, certified, and residual. The official are the ones selected by Expo, with all the food and beverage processes certified and compliant with our requirements. They will have direct access to Expo gates for the routine security controls. The certified are the ones not selected by us, but with the procurement and logistic processes certified by Expo. They realize an in-house screening of food and beverage, and they will have a direct access to Expo gates for the routine security controls. The residual providers must have a full accreditation process. All vehicles and deliveries must go through a screening area for security controls before getting direct access to Expo gates. All the suppliers, official, certified, and residual, must book their entry to the site through the master delivery schedule. Summarizing, according to the logistical constraints of our exhibition site, we identified the different access rules related to the different suppliers categories. The slide illustrates the point of access for delivery within the rice and cocoa cluster, from where each participant is responsible for picking up the goods. As you can see, there is a similar arrangement for each clusters. So much for logistics. Now let me turn to customs controls and procedures. There are different working groups at institutional level to develop all the initiatives we need to facilitate the participants. The first, with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Customs Agency, is defining a set of simplified rules that will be reserved for participants. These rules will ensure efficiency in carrying out customs procedures. The second, with the Ministries of the Interior, Labor and Social Security, Foreign Affairs, and the National Post Office, will define simplified rules for the granting of entry visa, residency and work permits. The last, with the Ministry of Economy and Finance, to define tax breaks for the purchase of goods and services by the participants. When it comes to customs, the 2 key words to us are swift and simple. What do we mean by swift? We mean a priority treatment in ports and airports for goods destined to Expo, expansion of the regional and local offices involved in the control of imported goods, selection of fast corridors for instant forwarding of participant goods in the routes controlled by the Italian National Logistic Platform, and a super-fast corridor identified by RFID seals on containers from foreign ports. And by simple, we mean simplified procedures for assigning an economic operator registration and identification number to the representatives of participants. The guide will also contain all the information about the rules to follow to have access to these facilities and the rules to be followed for plants health checks. Our official recommended provider will guarantee the use of these simplified procedures. Let's turn now to waste management. First of all, the estimates of waste that will be produced during the event. We estimate a total of 13,200 tons during the 6 months of event. Some 138 tons during the peak days. Expo Milano 2015 has a very challenging goal. A level of differentiated collection of waste of almost 84%. We all want to achieve this goal, but we can only do this with your support and help. Expo differentiated collection of waste will be integrated into the system of waste collection in the city of Milan and will be completed with a door-to-door approach. Expo will provide all participants with special pavilion containers to keep waste products. These containers must be stored within the pavilion. The waste will be collected according to the following schedule. Monday and Tuesday from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., from Wednesday to Sunday from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. To reach the goal of almost 84% of differentiated waste collection, we'll collect the following fractions: paper and cardboard, organic, glass, plastic and cans, landfill sweeping, and undifferentiated residual fraction. And once again, we need your support. There are requirements that should be noted in order to comply with the mandatory procedures of the Expo, such as a preferential use of draft provision for water and soft drinks, both in case of waiter and self-service catering, the provision of water in jugs or with returnable glass bottles, limitation of the use of glass, and discouraging customers from taking any glass container off the premises where served. Finally, the use of washable tableware. If disposable tableware is used, it must be of biodegradable and compostable material so that it can be sent to composting center. The containers in public areas will be emptied by a team of 80 people according to a specific cycle. And as you can imagine, the period of maximum intensity will be lunch and dinner. As already for the logistics areas, we have identified the locations of the waste areas for each cluster. To summarize the waste management, a total of 13,200 tons during the 6 months of the event. A very challenging goal, a level of differentiated collection of waste of almost 84%. A collection integrated in the city of Milan, only a nighttime collection schedule, containers in public areas emptied according to the different waste production level. Now a short update on the next point, the Participants Service Center. The service center will be located close to the southwest gate of the site within the Milan Fair and will be placed in 2 different buildings. The one you see in this photo is the entrance of the building where the offices of the central and local public administration will be located. We are completing the technological infrastructure required by them for the security of communication between the headquarters and the service center, but from the 1st of April 2014, the administration will decide when to open offices based on the volume of activities to be performed. The following offices will be located in the participants' service center. Let's go now to the last subject of the presentation, the daily schedule. As you know, also from the presentation of Mr. Galli, the previous one, the public phase of our schedule is Expo by day and Expo by night. But we have also an invisible phase and a real important part of our schedule that is operations by night. This includes activities such as waste management and cleaning, technical infrastructure and facilities maintenance, goods and foods logistics, the fitting and dismantling activities of the events areas according to the events program. Let's look briefly at a typical daily schedule. This is the schedule of Monday and Tuesday, but don't worry, I'm not going to read the list point by point. But let me draw your attention to a couple of really important moments of the day. For example, from 9 to 11 in the morning, every day, the cluster manager will meet the participants to share with them the next day's activities and the logistics weekly rolling forecast. How is this so important? It's important because this is the opportunity to discuss what's happened, what's happening, and what's going to happen. This dialogue you'll find again in another part of the day, the close of the day. For example, Monday and Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m., we'll have the meeting with participants for logistics and waste management night activities and the next day's activities. If we think about operations by night, we have to highlight that Monday and Tuesday will have 4 hours for logistics, but from Wednesday to Sunday will be only from 3 to 6 in the morning, just 3 hours, for goods, foods, beverages, and specialties. And this means we face a big challenge for make sure everything works properly. This is the reason why, for goods, we selected the official logistic provider for the event period, and this is the reason why we differentiated the food and beverage suppliers in official, certified, and residual. So that's it. You have a day in the life of a cluster and its 6 operational pillars. We are on schedule. I want to thank my team who have worked so hard to keep us on schedule, and I would like to thank you in advance for the help and support that you'll provide to operations. Thank you very much.